All right, good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March 3rd, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. And I will now call the meeting to order, and if you will, join me in as we have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you asking forgiveness of all of our transgressions. Also, we're thanking you for all of the many blessings you've allowed us to have, and the achievements that this young team, this young soccer team has achieved. We thank you for all that they've done. May it be, may what we do tonight be pleasing in your eye, and may you guide us as we conduct business for the Granville County. In Jesus' name, amen. And if you will now stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, are there any adjustments or changes to the agenda that we need to make? I see we have one under Section 9. With the board's permission, I'd like to move that to the consent agenda, please.
I'll make a motion, we move that to consent agenda.
Second motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. And now we move on to our consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I'll motion that we, the agenda be approved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Now to our introductions, recognitions, and presentations. And we have a proclamation recognizing Butner-Stem Middle School boys soccer. And if you will, come down and join me on stage. Congratulations. 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 Yes, congratulations. 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 And most of all, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I don't need to be standing in front of y'all. I need to be standing behind you because you guys are the stars tonight. Thank you. Thank you for being here. This is this is a proclamation recognizing Butner-Stem Middle School boys soccer team for winning the 2024 Middle School Athletic Conference MAC-10 Championship. Whereas the Butner-Stem Middle School boys soccer team has demonstrated outstanding dedication, teamwork, and sportsmanship throughout the 2024 season. And whereas under the leadership of head coach Ed Sosa and assistant coaches Melissa and Salvatore Jr., the team secured the 2024 Middle School Athletic Conference MAC-10 Championship title, bringing pride and recognition to their school and the Granville County community. And whereas Principal Ashley Clark has provided steadfast leadership and support for the team, fostering a culture of excellence both in academics and athletics at Butner-Stem Middle School, and whereas the players, guided by their coaches and supported by the principal, families, teachers, and school staff, exhibited hard work and determination both on and off the field, and whereas this remarkable achievement reflects not only their athletic ability, but also their discipline, character, and perseverance in achieving excellence, and whereas the Board of Commissioners wishes to formally recognize and commend the Butner-Stem Middle School boys soccer team for their exceptional accomplishment. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Granville County Board of Commissioners does hereby congratulate the Butner-Stem Middle School boys soccer team on winning the 2024 Middle School Athletic Conference MAC-10 Championship and commends them for their dedication and success this third day of March 2025. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Ed, you want to say anything? You want to make a few comments?
Well, this is their recognition. I appreciate the commissioners for their standing job also. And for me, it's teamwork. We lost the first two games. We made arrangements and they communicate well. They didn't give up. That's the main thing. It's not only playing soccer. It's also be a mentor. I'm like a father for them. And they believe in me. They believe in themselves. And that's the main thing here. Life goes on. You're going to go to ninth grade. And that's a good experience here. Keep it up. Never give up. I know you can do it. Thank you. Good night.
And here's your proclamation. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate your help.
Thank you. And we want to share it with all of your team. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh.
Where? Where? Which one? And we're going to have another meeting.
Okay.
Recording that later.
All
I
right.
appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Let's give it. Thank you so much.
Great job, great job. That's all right, man, I tell you.
Okay. And I apologize for mispronouncing and missing some names, but thank you. Thank you all. Okay, and now we have a presentation from Franklin-Granville-Vance Smart Start. Dr. Linda Frederickson. Thank you for coming tonight, and please proceed.
That one? Got it? Thank you. County manager, leaders, it's an honor to be here tonight representing Franklin-Granville-Vance Smart Start. We're going to get started. I know that you have a lot on your agenda, so I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible just to share some great news and to say thank you to you. One thing I want to make sure, when I first started working with Franklin-Granville-Vance Smart Start after retiring with the public school system for many years, I found out that a lot of people say, yes, I know all about you. You're Head Start, you're the Franklin-Granville-Vance Warren Opportunities, you're a child care center, so I want you, if you don't remember any other slide tonight, to remember what we're not. We're not those. We work with those. They're great. But that's not who Smart Start is. So I want you to make sure you know that. I had sat with somebody at a great banquet last week, and they said, "Oh, I haven't seen you, but your office is right near us." And I'm like, "No, because I know it sounds Smart Start and Head Start, but that's how it goes. But we do collaborate." Okay, and who we are part of a 75 local partnerships that represent all the counties in the state of North Carolina. And we work for programs for children, families 5 and under. And we represent 3 counties. So some places they have 1 county. Well, we have 3, and we work hard to represent those 3 well. So you will see that. I'm not going to go through every little thing on your slide because you have those, and I think you've had those in advance because I saw that those were out there. But one of the key things is you make a lot of decisions. You're going to be making a lot of decisions and discussions and hearing a lot tonight about things that have to do with, taxes and education and the fire department and the police department. But everything we do, we need to remember they're our youngest citizens. They can't get up here and sign up to speak. There's things that they can't do, so we must represent and be for them. And did you know, and I'm not going to ask any of your age, but I'll proudly tell you that I turned 62 this past week, but our brain develops the fastest and the most from birth to age 3. So what are we giving to our children birth to age 3? So Franklin-Granville-Vance gives a lot, and your support helps. So we have Accessing Higher Education, where we help our teachers that are in the classroom continue to get the training they need. We have added a behavior support specialist. This behavior support specialist is not to fix kids or diagnose kids. It's actually to work with the adults that work with children to let them know that they need to know and understand their children. And so we work with those. We've added a child care health consultant that works and makes sure that they work with the programs for our kids. We refer to quality services. We make sure that we help the child care centers that if they are what's called a 3-star and we want them all to be 5 stars, we help them to get there. And again, we are not a for-profit organization. Most of our money comes from state and local and a very small amount from federal. So I want to tell you, again, I think I've already emphasized the brain development of our children. It's the fastest rate of brain development. That's when we should be not sticking them, in front of, giving them a little electronic device. We need to be reading with them, teaching them words. Just as you don't wait till they're 5 years old to feed them the first time, right, to eat. They wouldn't make it to that. Well, we can't do that if we want them to be successful in school either. We have an adolescent parenting program that helps young people. Sometimes that happens in middle and high school. We have young people that, they have babies, but we work with them to help them graduate, to teach them to be the best parents they can be, and to try to prevent a second pregnancy until they are ready. Okay, now another one you see, now you're the 3rd county I've been to, but Dolly Parton has changed this program. I mean, not she hasn't, but Dolly's the same. I think she's been the same always. She doesn't change at all. But there's a reading program, and over 1,000 families in Granville County take part in this program. And it's been provided the last few years by the state free. Any child, regardless of, social economics, gender, any of that, could get a book from age birth to 5 to the month they turn 5 for free. Well, as of February 1st, the state allotted money for that has ceased, and they're working on continuing it. But if you are already in the program, it will continue. But guess what? We know reading is important for Granville County, and we're going to continue that. And so I'm looking at grants. I'm writing grants. I've written several already. I'm asking, pleading. I'm not doing that with you tonight, but it's something to think about. Family engagement is the key, getting our families engaged. So we have centers at different locations. We have one in Franklin County, one in Henderson, and then we have one right here on the campus of the Masonic Home for Children in Oxford. If you have grandchildren, children, nieces, nephews, birth to 5, you can go check out quality, developmentally appropriate resources for them, not just books, hands-on manipulatives, and you can check those out for up to a month free and return them. I'm clicking, but either I've clicked too fast or it's not going. I'm going to keep rolling. So, it finally caught up with me. I might have skipped a few, but we have a kindergarten transitions program that helps families make sure that their children are ready for kindergarten. We have a supporting, popped up parents as teachers. The first teachers, who are the first teachers? The parents. We actually go in and help those parents be the best teachers they can be. We have a supporting father involvement, because fathers are very, very important. Moms, we always think about all moms do, and boy, I wouldn't have made it without my mom. But having an active, engaging father or father figure is extremely important, so we work with that. Little free libraries in Granville County, they're over at the athletic park. I'll let you read where we get our money, but I told you that most of it comes from state funds. You see the amount, $2,782,088. Only at $585 come from federal grant funds. And other income, we get out there with our events, and I'll tell you a little bit about those in a few moments. I'm so excited, and Will Robertson, I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to point you out. The PBS TV, how many of you remember things like Sesame Street or Zoom or the Electric Company? That stuff, they have so much now that's out there, and what they want to do is have ambassadors from all 100 counties. So I am your Granville County ambassador. Actually, in your packet, if you get it by email, there's a link in there. You can link and see a little 45-second video that I did with PBS TV. But the reason I said Will is this is something I work very closely with the library system with, and he actually kind of somehow got my name in that pot. So Will, I'm going to give you the credit, and then I'm going to come to you when I need some help. But it's a trusted brand. It has programs for kids, Spanish, English, activities, free downloads. And if you're going to watch TV, they need to do something that's good and learning. So our local fundraising event, Time Out Tuesday, you might recognize some faces up there, and Ducky Derby are two of our events. So on Tuesday, during the Week of the Young Child, we will be having a Time Out Tuesday here in Granville County. And if you would like to be put in time out, or you would like to pay to get somebody out of time out, or just support us, because we have a good time with it. If we're going to do it, we're going to try to have a good time. And then our Ducky Derby. So right now, why am I here? I'm here to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You help, the funds you give us, $5,000. Some places might say, $5,000? It does a lot for a group like us, and we appreciate it. Week of the Young Child activities, staff trainings, and educational materials. Thank you, and I have left some goodies for you. I want to make sure you get a little character from Sesame Street. I think our clerk has them back there. There's enough for everyone. And if you don't want it, make sure you take it to one of your family members, because they're going to want it. These are hot items, okay? When I go places, everybody wants their little Bert and Ernie and all of that. So I've left my business cards and other information. I apologize for speaking so fast, but I want you to get to your business, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you'll have my information. But if you really want to know everything, check with my executive director, Dr. Tony Cozart. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Frederickson. Dr. Cozart, do you have some comments?
Yes, just want to thank Dr. Frederickson for coming tonight and sharing the information. This is something we have been talking about doing for a number of years, so I'm so happy that she could come tonight and give you this information. And I also want to say thank you. It has been a real pleasure to be able to try to meet the needs of our youngest among us. And one of the things that you will hear us talking about a lot going forward is to try to see if we can reach out and really serve those children in our communities who are not attending a child care center. We're very concerned about those children because as they go to kindergarten, if they don't have that experience, they will start off at a deficit. And we all know that is not good. So thank you for your support. With the size of our budget, you might say, why are we thanking so much? Most of our money comes and it is targeted and streamlined as to how we have to spend it. The money you give us gives us flexibility. So we're so thankful. Thank you again, Dr. Frederickson. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments, Dr. Cozart. We appreciate it. And our next is a presentation of the Granville-Vance Public Health 50th Anniversary Annual Report.
Yes.
How you doing, Ms. Lisa?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Commissioner
seeing you.
Gooch, and commissioners of the Granville County Board We really also want to echo Dr. Fredrickson's thank you. It is always nice to have partners in the community who work with children and families. And Granville-Vance Public Health thanks you for the work that we are able to do in our community, and wanted to just share briefly some of the highlights from our most recent report. Can you hear me okay? All right. And I think I've got a stack of them that should be coming around. Hopefully, yeah. Do you have enough? They're great. Thanks. So, yes, lots of good things turned 50 this year, or in 2024, and Granville-Vance Public Health was one of those. So in our report, we are required on the years that we don't do a community health assessment full-blown event, that we give a state of the county health report to our community leaders and make sure that we produce and print opportunities for others in the community to be able to read through some of the community health priorities and the progress that we've made on them. So our priorities over time have, over the last 3 community health assessment years, have been mental health and substance use treatment, making sure that we're having access to care, and safety and youth issues. So some of the historical reflections are included in what you've had over the last 50 years, and these 2 counties working together as a district are highlighted. And then most recently, our achievements in 2023 are that we've had the expansion of school-based oral health programs. We've had recognition and excellence for breastfeeding support and high-risk pregnancy care through state awards with our Women, Infant, Children Supplemental Nutrition Program, Maternal Health, and Child Health. And we've had the launch of our Thrive program in schools, providing mental health, behavioral health interventions. It's a $4 million initiative over 4 years. And so far, knock on wood, HRSA has continued to fund that. I know there's a lot of concern about cuts at the federal level. We did get a confirmation just earlier today that HRSA will continue to fund that through next year. So that is great news. Our vision for the future is that we remain committed to fostering integrated whole community health through partnerships, innovation, and evidence-based care. And this year's State of the County Health Report underscores resilience, adaptability, and dedication of staff and community partners to make that mission possible. So you'll see in the presentation an overview of whole person and whole community care, and our view of wanting to have a no wrong door approach to always be able to lead to the work that we do. Again, the CHOP priorities in the last year are access to health care, mental health, substance use disorder, and engaging youth for community health and safety. And lots of programs that we provide at the health department address all of those needs. When we decide to write grants for any supplemental funding for our staffing needs, this is our North Star. This is what our community have said they want us to work on, and so this is the effort that we get funding for. And then the other thing that's required in a State of the County Health Report are our top reasons that we need to look at for leading causes of death and interventions that we can provide to reduce those causes of death and the morbidity associated with them. So you'll see the data for Granville County. Leading causes of death include cancer, diseases of the heart, cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease, chronic lower respiratory diseases, and for 2023, 2022 and prior, since we had a pandemic going on, we also had COVID-19 as one of the top reasons for death in our 2 counties, Granville and Vance. And you can see the comparison across those 2 counties. And you can see the rates per 100,000 people in those 2 counties as well. And then we also include in our State of the County Health Report a data snapshot, population characteristics, different connections to Hispanic, non-Hispanic, Black, African, White, all American Indian, Alaska Native, and Asian populations. Sometimes there are disparities and more disease burden in some communities than in others. Diabetes is one of those we see a tremendous issue with in both of our communities, so we have diabetes programs around that. And then we have emerging issues that we went through for the future. We want to make sure we're addressing housing and food insecurity, which are big issues that determine the health outcomes of our population. We've been working on that. And I also wanted to share something as recent as last Friday. An emerging issue is that we have a lot of screening to do and treatment to do for viral hepatitis C. So that is an inflammation of the liver. It's often caused by a virus, and most common types of those, other than C, are hepatitis A and B as well. And just last Friday, in one day, we screened 15 different people. 9 of those 15 people were positive for hepatitis C. 7 received Narcan kits, 15 received harm reduction kits, and all received counseling. So we're trying to really focus in on the populations of need, those over age 50. So we're on a 50th anniversary report, and lots of people have had potential exposure to this virus and need to make sure their liver is healthy. So we offer that screening and treatment in the health department, and look forward to working with our different initiatives around mental health and substance use treatment to ensure that we address all of those risks and get people treated. It's an expensive treatment, but we do have state funding to be able to help with that. So those are just some brief highlights. The last 2 pictures are the wonderful people doing the work at your local health department. We have approximately 100 people who do the work of public health across 2 counties, 6 buildings, and lots of different types of work in public health, environmental health, communicable disease, vital records. We have primary care. We have behavioral health and integrated care. We have a lot of people doing really important work to keep our community healthy, and that's our leadership team making a lot of great things happen across different funding sources and across different departments. So thank you for the time to allow me to come just give you a state of the county health report and provide you with this highlight and overview of the progress we've made over 50 years. I'm glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Good evening, Ms. Harrison. How are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Good.
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about your state and federal contracts and funding, and what, if any, pauses at this point.
Yes, that's a great question. So far, we have not received any word that we have any cutbacks directly related to any of our staff or our particular services. We do have a hepatitis C bridge counselor who is only funded through this fiscal year, and CDC has notified us that that program will be cut at the federal level. And after this fiscal year, we will no longer have the $37,000 worth of funding for that. We are hoping to find another grant by the time that ends. So at least we have a little bit of a timeline on that. I do look to our March 15th deadline at the federal level for continuing resolution and the funding of the federal government to sort of tell us a little bit more about their decisions around Medicaid. I think it's really important that people understand that Medicaid pays for services, doesn't pay people directly. So our local hospital, our health department, our federally qualified health center, a lot of our programs and services and people who have jobs in our local communities depend on the Medicaid program so that we're providing services with those dollars. So I know there's a lot of advocacy going on from the Hospital Association and other places, keeping my fingers crossed that we will continue to see Medicaid patients.
So if you could you for us and for the public, in a real short liner, the Medicaid program was in jeopardy with funding and how that translates to what our state is doing as well.
Oh, goodness. I don't know the numbers of billions of dollars the state of North Carolina receives from Medicaid. I can tell you in our local health department, there are 3 ways we receive money from Medicaid. Fee for services, that people coming in and need a service, they need hepatitis C treatment, for example, and we screen and treat them. Medicaid is where we bill. It's an insurance company we bill to, so it helps pay the bills at the health department. The second way is through cost settlement, and so they understand at the federal and the state level that serving populations who need assistance takes some extra work from our doctors and our nurses, and so at the end of the year, if we've put forth effort and proven our time sheets have said we're serving 2,000 Medicaid patients for these services, they will settle up with us and say we don't need to go in the red for that because they understand we're serving people who are uninsured and have Medicaid. The third way is there's something called per member per month for care management of people who are pregnant and who are 0 to 5. So our young children and our pregnant women get care management services from nurses and social workers, and Medicaid pays us for those services. So it covers approximately 37 positions in our health department locally in Henderson and in Oxford for us to be able to bill Medicaid in one of those 3 ways for those kinds of services to serve our community.
So if I'm correct, based on some federal government decisions, it will depend upon what our state also does to cover that cost because it's a shared cost.
It is a shared cost.
And so when that occurs, it impacts us locally.
Yes.
And what's your sense?
It
with
impacts jobs.
What's your sense with that?
I have really little to go on guessing. I think one of the things I'm hearing and reading is that there will be work requirements for eligibility that will be negotiated. My guess is there will still be cuts to Medicaid. And until we know which specific programs or what kind of reimbursement rates might decrease, it's just hard to tell. The Dental Association is actually asking for increased rates because they haven't had increased rates for dental care and Medicaid since 2008. And that bill in the state of North Carolina is going through the process now of potentially passing. So it's an interesting combination of things happening, and it's hard to read the tea leaves quite yet.
And our board, we met with social services during the retreat, and 27% of our population is served by Medicaid. As to cancer, the cancer rates in Granville County, not Vance County. Not that I don't care about Vance County, but I care more about my county.
Right.
What are they contributed to?
There are a lot of things that cancer rates are contributed to, and a lot of the history in these two counties of being a tobacco growing region is one of the things that pops out for environment. We also have a number of different types of cancers that are in there, so that's all types. And definitely the rates are in line with other counties. You can see Vance County actually has a bit of a higher rate than Granville County. But people are always concerned. I always get calls and emails and requests for people to understand a little bit more about our cancer registry at the State Center for Health Statistics. And I'm used to putting people in touch with a little bit more data and information about different types of cancer.
But what you're seeing is really a more trend along the lines of healthy choices and lifestyle that may be driving some of the rates.
That always is a consideration, certainly, yes. Nature and nurture, all combined there. It's hard to tease those apart sometimes without big studies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Has anyone else got a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mrs. Harrison, thank you too. You former board member at Smart Start, thank you for that. And I get around to a lot of interagency meetings, and I just want to commend you. Your team is at the table all throughout this community, and I really do appreciate that. They have been at our call for things where we could partner. That has been very important to us, allowed us to be able to leverage the resources we have. So thank you for that. And also on page 7, I just wanted to note how important the expanded dental services, how wonderful that is. And just thanks to you and your team for being able to make such a needed service available in our counties.
Excellent. Yes, Carolina Fellows Family Dentistry up at Hilltop Village is wonderful, and we are glad to serve, and hopefully those Medicaid rates will stay in place and maybe even increase for dental services.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to say thank you, Lisa. We have the best director in the state of North Carolina working with us. That young lady keeps up with everything that's going on statewide and nationwide. We have the best. Just like to say that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your service on the Board of Health. And thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you. Has anyone else got any comments? I'd just like to say thank you for all that you do outside of your job. Thank you for what you do within your job, but also what you do outside. And I want you to know I really appreciate the work you do with Opioid Advisory Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor, and public health service is a wonderful thing. I don't take it for granted and enjoy every day.
Mr. Gooch, I just wanted to follow up on one question. Sorry, my brain's working a little slower tonight. So what you said earlier is the cancer rates within Granville County are trending in comparison to other counties. There's no higher, no lower. I mean, based on what you understand about the types of cancer. So just in general, what could you say?
In this particular region, I don't see big differences because we've had lots of inquiries about that. Certainly, there are people who lose family members and are very concerned, as I have. So it's important to look into the data and try to understand what causes cancer. And it's just a really difficult thing. Sometimes it's lifestyle choices, sometimes it's genetics, sometimes it's the environment, sometimes it's the history of tobacco use and the exposure to lots of things we know are carcinogenic. So it's really hard to just put your finger on one particular cause.
Okay.
And we are always investigating, always.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Be healthy, be well, make good choices.
Make healthy choices. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the public comments, and we didn't have anyone sign up, so we'll move right along to sheriff's matters. Sheriff Fountain, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the meeting or not, but we moved the item 9 to a consent agenda.
Good evening. First, giving honor to God, the author and finisher of everything. I stand before you tonight on 2 separate matters. Those 2 separate matters, first is the purchase of body cameras for our deputies and staff at the Granville County Sheriff's Office. The request is to enter into an agreement to purchase these body cams initially. Let me get to it. Initially, we want to purchase 15 body cams that would be a bank system, which means patrol deputies will go in to the 7 deputies that are on shift at that time, pull their body cams, wear those cams while 7 are banking. At the end of that shift, those staff would then return back to the sheriff's office, bank their body cams, download that information, and that process continues to repeat itself. Additionally, we're looking at a process of possibly using asset forfeiture money to purchase more to outfit the rest of the agency if the time comes that we can get some more. Also, the ones that we will transfer from the use internally will go to our special operations unit and to our SWAT team or SRT teams. So we want to make sure that we're covering not only ourselves, but our citizens and making sure that we are being transparent in the execution of the duties of the sheriff's office. So the sheriff's office, as far as the body cams, which one are we doing first, body cams or cars? Body cams, all right. So the Granville County Sheriff's Office is willing to use asset forfeiture money to come up with the first initial tranche of money for the body cams, and they were asking that the county participate in helping fund the rest of that program for years 2 through 5.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine. Good evening, Sheriff. How are you?
Good evening.
So it's my understanding that the asset forfeiture money can be used the first year, but not for reoccurring years. Do we know?
Correct. That is correct. You cannot use it for reoccurring contracts.
It cannot.
No.
So if we go ahead, Mr. Wren.
I was going to say, that's generally correct. What you don't want to do with asset forfeiture money, because it is a one-time type expenditure, is rely on it for continuing purchases or create an environment where a law enforcement agency is encouraged to police for profit in order to fund its operations.
And I agree with that. I'm just making sure that we understood that the sheriff's office will be funding the first year. The years after that will be funded out of the sheriff's budget.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Sheriff, do you currently have policies in place for body camera use?
Correct.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, and I apologize for being frivolous in the comment I made.
No, it's important to me that I agree with the sheriff. The sheriff's office is a vital piece of technology that our law enforcement officers should have. I just want to make sure as we work through the budget next year that we're planning to have flat budget across the board with the other departments. In fact, asking them to to cut 5% from their budget. So as we review the sheriff's budget going into next year, how this lays into his budget to be able to do that, because that would be an incurred cost that will hopefully be able to derive from other line items within his budget to be able to cover that cost without elevating that budget.
Yes, any other questions? Any comments? And, you know, the shortfalls that we're seeing on the detention side with the money for the juveniles that you have no control over, you know, we're looking at $500,000 shortfall that we're going to have to come up with. And I would like to see this come out of the sheriff's budget and not separate from the county, because we're having to come up with so much separate from the county.
I think that's a possibility because, again, I've always said if we could use some of that money that we generate from the commissary, I know it goes to debt services, but if we could generate some of that funding to use to pay down some of this and anything that's left over from our fiscal year for the sheriff's office side, take that money and apply it to where we could utilize it to these programs and for those inmate costs of juveniles that we can't predict.
Yes, and we thank you for working with us, Sheriff. The recommendation is approval of entering a 5-year contract for the purchase and maintenance of a 15 bundle body camera system from Axon Enterprises Incorporated for $137,111.80. The U.S. Department of Justice asset forfeiture account will be used to pay for the year 1, fiscal year 26, in the amount, am I reading this right, $33,994.01? And line item funded will be requested at the beginning of fiscal year 27 to fund the remaining 4 years of the contract. Sheriff Fountain further recommends that the Board of Commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the contract once finalized by the attorney. Is there any questions, any further questions, or any further comments? All right, do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any questions? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. And the next item, please. Sorry about that.
No problem, sorry. So about 2 months ago, we had Butner PD had a chase involving some stolen vehicles. And during that chase, one of our deputies, with my approval, because we didn't have in-car cameras on every vehicle. So we had a few in our vehicles, but that chase gave us cause to believe that we need to move aggressively into upfitting all of our patrol vehicles and emergency response that would make sure that, again, we protect our community, we protect our agency from any civil liabilities, and we're being transparent when we need to be. So it is a request of the Granville County Sheriff's Office that we purchase, and we're entering an agreement where we can put 40 new in-car cameras in our fleet of vehicles. That 40 would go into our current vehicles, and as we upfit the new vehicles, we would roll that cost into the fleet management system. So we're requesting that, again, we use asset forfeiture money to pay for the initial upfront cost of the first year, and then the county work with us in absorbing that cost and within the sheriff's office budget for years 2 through 5.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Sheriff on this?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff, could you please explain to the public, other than, you said it briefly, and you have a good line of study in here, because I know there's a Justice Department study out in 2017 where about 70% of all of sheriff's office law enforcement agencies actually already had body cameras. So we had a technology gap.
Yes.
That's clear. So could you kind of just go on a little bit, besides capturing something like that, the value of something like that, so from the public making a $400,000 investment, what does that do for your agency, and how you're going to manage that in regards to your policy?
So the policy will be, and the technology will be, anytime that the blue lights are activated, the in-car camera comes on automatically. It also has a time, it can go from 30 seconds to 3 minutes delay when you activate it, turn the blue lights on, those types of things. So we've studied in the documents that you have, there's a 93% exoneration rate when you have vehicle in-car cameras about Big Brother watching, or the impropriety, or the deputies doing something that is not consistent with the law or the policies that we have. So in that vein, we had to just go through an investigation where the young guy stole some cars. One of the individuals died from a wreck and a fatality in Creedmoor, that we were involved in that chase. And the thing that saved the county from any kind of litigation was the fact that there is a camera inside that vehicle. So the State Highway Patrol, when they looked at it to justify our part in that chase, and that we didn't pick maneuver the guy or cause the accident, it was his choice the way he drove, it saved the county some civil liabilities from that perspective. And we will have the design, we have policies already. If we have vehicles with in-car cameras in them, they will continue to be utilized. They will continue to be always pushed forward. The technology is great. It's a cloud-based system that we will go to, so we don't have it. The DA will have automatic access to our body cams as well as our in-car cameras, so there is no request for information. Axion has an agreement that as soon as something happens with the use of force and or the initiation of that body cam or in-car camera, the DA's office immediately, without any court proceedings or anything, can view everything for the transparency of what we do. And that's why we're trying to increase the safety as well as the transparency of the Granville County Sheriff's Office.
I have a quick question. So you brought up a point about the camera inside the vehicle.
Yes.
Comes on when the blue light comes on.
Activated, yes.
Activated. If the deputy chooses not to turn the blue light on,
There is technology where it'll just come on and record all the time. So that's just like your body cameras. Your body cameras are recording all the time.
When does the body cam come on?
Body cam comes on, it stays on at the touch of a button, but we're working, I think Russ and I have sat in on some conversations with a company. Anytime they get out of their car, but your body cam is always recording. It's just when you activate it, and it's a storage-based, cloud-based system to where we can go back, pull information. That's why I say that time-sensitive stuff, before they even activate it, it's still recording, and you set the time on when you want them. But what we're gonna do as far as the policies is require deputies, whenever they stop their car, turn your camera on. Whenever you go to a house and knock on the door, turn your camera on. Exiting your vehicle, do anything that's law enforcement specific, turn it on. Any encounters, activations, turn them on. So that's gonna be one of our policies, and we will hold people accountable to doing that. Even with the ones we have now that we're trying to phase out, they will try to bank them, but some of them don't work. So we just want to make sure we stay in concurrent and making sure there is no liability on the county for anything that somebody may do.
Sheriff, could you also elaborate on how this would work with your accreditation process?
That's one of the things that they have. Ms. Pounds and Rob Bayless and Chief Clements and them are still working with the accreditation. So we haven't started the clock. We're doing all the pre-work to make sure the accreditation is done. And it's part of that process. To be accredited, you have to have certain things in place. And one of those things is in-car cameras, body cams, and your policies and procedures have to be up to date. We had an initial assessment done by the state, and because the state has their accreditation, then the ACA has an accreditation process. So we've done most of those already with a pre-audit, and we have those recommendations of what we need to do to clean our stuff up. And those, one of the things is ensuring that we are having technology be able to be a basis of facts of information for the community.
So, Board, just for a reminder that part of our strategic plan was that the Sheriff's Office would reach, working with the Sheriff's Office, that would reach accreditation both in the law enforcement side and the detention side. So it's in line with, this funding would be in line with our strategic plan.
And speaking of the jail, we just passed another no deficiency inspection from the state and the Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
If you haven't had an opportunity to go to the jail, come on over.
I'll pass.
Actually, I've asked the sheriff, if I could participate in a ride-along.
Yes.
And a tour, so he'll be working on that and encourage other commissioners to do the same, so we can have firsthand view of this, so we can speak about it to our constituents, what we're observing and so forth. But he has been, he's going to be putting that together.
All right. Any other questions for Sheriff Fountain? Recommendation, Sheriff Fountain recommends approval of entering a 5-year contract for the purchase and maintenance of 40 in-car camera systems from Axon Enterprise Incorporated for $411,251.68. Boy, that's some big numbers for a poor boy like me. The U.S. Department of Justice asset forfeiture account will be used to pay for year 1, fiscal year 26, in the amount of $82,250.33. And line item funding will be requested at the beginning of fiscal year 27 to fund the remaining 4 years of the contract. Sheriff Fountain further recommends that the Board of Commissioners authorize the county manager to execute the contract once finalized by the county attorney. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir. I'll make the motion that we approve it.
I second.
Okay, is there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, and I just want to make something clear to not just the board, but to the community. We are investigating a use of force that happened with one of my deputies, and, well, 3 of my deputies, one in particular, but I cannot release any information in reference to that investigation until the county attorney, myself, and the DA's office and the State Bureau of Investigations complete their investigation. So we will release all this information as well as the body cam footage per the law after Attorney Wren and I have a conversation. We've just finished up our part of the investigation, and we're waiting to finish up with the SBI and what they have to see what their recommendations are. So everything is going to be clear. We will release everything in its appropriate time, but this is nothing that we took lightly. Durham County Sheriff's Office assisted with our internal investigation, and we are going to cooperate to the fullest extent that we should in the vein of being transparent as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And now, next on our agenda is tax matters, consideration of interest reversal request. And this is presentation is by our tax administrator, Jenny Short. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I'm here today to present you with information that Charles W. Kelly IV has given the Tax Department. Charles submitted a letter and information to the Tax Department requesting the Board of Commissioners reverse interest that is being applied to his 2024 tax bill. Our tax bills were mailed out July 19th, 2024. Mr. Kelly was under the impression that the tax office received his payment since he mailed it November 4th, 2024. However, his check was intercepted and never received by the tax department. And I believe Mr. Kelly is here. Oh, that's Mr. Kelly. Okay. Mr. Kelly was notified on December the 12th by Wells Fargo Loss Prevention that a fraudulent check had been discovered. And after that phone call, he stopped by his bank, which is the State Employees Credit Union, to discuss this further. He ended up closing out his bank account, opening a new one, and at that time, it was discovered that there was a second fraudulent check with that exact same check number. On January 25th, Charles Kelly received a delinquent notice from the tax department. I imagine he was a bit surprised. After receiving that notice, he went back and reviewed all the checks he had written in 2024. And upon reviewing his records, he discovered the check he wrote to the tax department had not cleared his bank account. While this is an unfortunate situation, do I point it this way? No. Back up. Okay. So while this is an unfortunate situation, North Carolina General Statute 105, 380A, it prohibits the governing body of a taxing unit from leasing, refunding, or compromising any portion of taxes levied unless it falls under 105-381. Now, North Carolina General Statute 105-381, says that you have to have a valid defense and property tax imposed through either clerical error, an illegal error, or a tax levied for an illegal purpose. So this would also apply to interest, since North Carolina General Statute 105-273-15 says tax or taxes is the principal amount of any property tax or dog license tax and cost, penalties, and interest. So, since the law only permits tax refunds or releases in a very limited circumstance, like illegal tax or clerical error, the tax administrator recommends not approving the request to waive interest. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Does anybody have any questions? I know in our packet here, we have a letter from Mr. Kelly. We have incident investigation report, and we have copies of the checks. And also we have a copy of a letter from the Christopher McLaughlin, from the Professor of Public Law and Government, School of Government, from the UNC School of Government in Chapel Hill. And has everyone had a chance to read this? Does our attorney have any comments?
The only thing I would add to this, Mr. Chairman, is that I think you have to take this into consideration. The amount that's asked to be forgiven here is relatively small, but the same thought process would apply to any amount that is asked to be forgiven under similar circumstances. And I just want to point out to the board that General Statute 105-380C says that any tax that has been released, refunded, or compromised in violation of this section may be recovered from any member or members of the governing body who voted for the release, refund, or compromise by civil action instituted by any resident of the taxing unit. And when collected, the recovered tax shall be paid to the treasurer of the taxing unit. The cost of bringing the action, including reasonable attorney's fees, shall be allowed the plaintiff in the event the tax is recovered. So this statutory scheme gives a private right of action against the members of the board and provides statutory remedy for attorney's fees if there's a violation of the statutes here. So just want to be clear that while the amount is small and it may seem harmless, they're pretty stiff remedies if the law is not followed in this section.
Thank you, Mr. Wren.
I need some clarification, Mr. Chair. So I think what you're saying, Mr. Wren, is that if it doesn't fall within A, B, or C, what are you saying? There's no room for variance, or I mean, or there is, but if we do, we do it so at risk of some type of liability.
Right. There's no statutory authority, and Ms. Short, correct me if you think I'm getting this wrong, but there's no statutory authority for the board to relieve or to refund this tax or to forgive this tax. And if you do it without that statutory authority, the law holds the members of this board personally liable and also provides an incentive for taxpayers to sue this board by having a statutory mechanism to recover reasonable attorney's fees from the board.
Okay, gentlemen,
Do you need
any questions? for
Need any more clarity?
Pretty clear.
Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? Do I hear a motion?
I really struggle with this, to be honest with you, because this looks like this gentleman did everything he possibly could do, and he ends up with $105 additional interest paid. And so my struggle is the fact that, the law does not allow for, in my view, a common sense decision, nor does it give us the flexibility to make a common sense decision. At least in my view, common sense, and that means I'd like to hear what other board members think before we make a motion on that.
I agree and concur with the Commissioner May. I think this gentleman did everything correct. He followed through the process correctly. Unfortunately, there's no statutory that gives this board any authority, or otherwise we are personally liable, if I understand our county attorney correctly.
That's correct.
Unfortunately.
So, Mr. Chair, I hope it's appropriate if I ask this next question of the county attorney. Mr. County Attorney, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to deny the request. Unfortunately, the law is harsh on situations like this, but sometimes that harshness is necessary to administer a tax system fairly and impartially.
I know we're struggling with this,
You're right, Mr. Chairman.
but the recommendation from the tax administrator recommends the Board of Commissioners to not approve reversing interest due to lack of statutory authority.
I make a motion that we do not, that we take the recommendation to county attorney for that reason, that it's not within our statutory. We do not have the statutory provisions to make a decision otherwise without risking further county tax dollars in defense of that decision. So I make a motion that we do not approve. I make a motion that we go with the recommendation provided by the tax administrator.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. And now our next item of business is emergency management matters, the Fire Commission recommendation. All right.
All right, good evening, gentlemen, ladies, sorry. So Jason couldn't make it today, he was under the weather, so I'm gonna stand in and try to help you guys out with this. So with the part-time firefighter reimbursement, the original intent was to provide the paid firefighters in all 12 volunteer fire departments Monday through Friday during normal business hours. So where we started, we had one firefighter Monday through Friday, maximum 10 hours a day, 50 hours a week, $18 reimbursement max, which was a max amount for all 12 fire departments was $50,400 per department. So our first change, Jason came a few months ago and got it set up where we could reimburse 2 firefighters to work in a given day if another day in the week wasn't covered. So if they worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and still had Tuesday and Thursday open, on Friday they could work an extra firefighter to be able to make up for those openings that they had. So they still had a maximum of 10 hours a day per firefighter and still falling under that 50-hour maximum per week. The maximum reimbursement was still $18 an hour and still held under that $50,400 mark. So with that, we were able to lower the response rate. So what we were looking to do with putting firefighters in the firehouses worked very well. We were able to get down to the industry standards, which is around 3 minutes for volunteer fire departments. Some of them got below it and actually increasing on paid firefighter standards, which is 2 minutes or less to be out the door. So when you think of a volunteer fire department and the pager goes off and people have to run to the firehouse, crank the trucks and get there, to get out the door in 3 minutes is very good. And we've had multiple departments that are at the 3 minute mark, if not lower. So what we're doing so far is working very well. Andy?
Good evening. My name's Andy. I'm the current chair for the Fire Commission. And we come to you this evening with the new recommendation from the Fire Commission that the Fire Commission is recommending modifying the current reimbursement policy to lift the 50-hour weekly restriction and to lift any restrictions on the number of firefighters per shift and remain at the funding level currently provided. What this does is the fire departments can be reimbursed for as many hours as they deem fit in each week. Fire departments can be reimbursed for working as many firefighters as they deem fit each week. And on the flip side, what this does not do, it does not change the maximum of 10 hours per firefighter per day. It does not change the maximum reimbursement rate of $18 plus FICA, and does not change the maximum amount of $50,400 per year. And with that being said, Mr. Ken?
So the way this works is with that $50,400, if your firefighters only make $15 an hour instead of $18 an hour, because there's a tier. If you're just a firefighter 1 and 2, you make $15 an hour. If you're a driver operator, you may make $16.50. If you're fully trained, have all your classes, you make $18 an hour. So we have some departments that can't fill all the slots. We have some departments that aren't paying those max amounts. So there's good quantities of money that's still being left in that pot for that $50,400. What they're asking for is to be able to work additional firefighters in a week. So they want to take that 50-hour cap away, which allows them to use that additional money there to help staff the fire department. So what they're trying to do is, not everything we do can be done with a single firefighter. So trying to have the additional firefighters there, from trying to test hose. We have ISO coming. ISO is a big thing. We have 2 departments that are actually preparing for it now in June. The rest of us will be between July and December. So doing hose testing, re-racking hose on a truck, cleaning hose, moving equipment on the trucks, a lot of that stuff takes more than one person. So if they have the available hours, what they're asking for is to be able to use those available hours to start staffing the department with some of those additional hours. Also, I don't know, did y'all get the sheets with all the breakdowns?
Do you have that in overhead?
I do not think so.
I think that's
Yeah, I don't have it
I
either.
think that's an important piece to be able to show because, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, are you ready for questions?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I think it's an important piece to show because I think looking at the graph that you have, everyone's somewhere, not everyone, but many departments around 70% range of staffing.
Oh, definitely.
For
definitely.
the days. But the question that I think that this board has to answer is how will the removal of hour and personnel cap improve having someone assigned to the volunteer station on a daily basis?
It won't increase the firefighters assigned on a daily basis, but it'll increase the amount of work that they can do and the amount of firefighters we get on the scene quickly by having them there.
So you have 2 now can work per day, correct?
Yes. As long as they have the available hours within that 50-hour week.
Right. And that doesn't appear to be the problem about meeting the hours during the week because in some.
Yes, yeah, for the average wise, we're doing very well with getting personnel on the trucks.
So I think how does this do that? How does this move so originally the board approved to put 2 people on the truck, originally 1 to 2.
Yes.
How does this move the ball forward to ensure that we have someone on there Monday through Friday every day? How does that move that? I understand what you're saying, that on Tuesday it might have 3 guys there, 4 guys, whatever they decide. But how does that move the ball forward in staffing and the station every day?
One of the things that our challenges is training new people. So it's kind of hard to get people on board because you really can't hire your own volunteers to work this. You can use them as backup, you can use them to cover shifts, but you're having to bring somebody on to your department to drive your trucks and to use your equipment, which not all trucks are the same. So what this would allow us to do is to have two people working a single day to be able to train that person to be able to use your equipment and to learn your area. So, and that's just one of the different things that it could work for.
So you're saying it provides a training opportunity.
Oh, definitely.
And so through that training opportunity, that might be one way to be able to place more people, more days during the week on the trucks.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes,
a
go ahead.
question. So you mentioned that there could be a day where there was theoretically 4 people,
Yes.
say on a Friday.
So if we remove that 50-hour cap, if they had the money left over in that 50,400, which I have a chart here that shows how much each department has to date, how much they have left over. Whatever they had left over in there, they could work it, paying whatever rate they're to pay, and we would keep track of it. We would have to develop a way to keep track of it, to keep it within the confinements of that 50,400.
My question would be, a fire doesn't always happen Monday through Friday. Why not move 2 of those people to a Saturday when they're not staffed?
Right.
You know, I'm speaking for me, and I think my district would know that somebody was at the firehouse also on Saturday would be great. Now, I know eventually that's probably what we'd like to see, you know, but if you're going to do 4, why not do 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday?
Yep, so the departments that aren't filling as many days would have that luxury to do that. The problem is some of the departments that are covering days, you have one department that's covered 100% of the days. They still have money in this fund because not all the firefighters made $18 an hour. You have some that have less than $1,000, so, or right at $1,000. So it would be a challenge for that department to do that same thing, to be able to show, to be able to cover on a Saturday. That would be something in the budget meetings to be able to, the firefighter budget to start
So
moving some more money to that fund.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
When we started this staffing of the firefighters in the stations, the county's general consensus from the Chiefs Association is we need help Monday through Friday. The weekends, more people are off duty at home, so you are more apt to have someone respond to a fire call Saturday and Sunday. Myself, I work for the city of Raleigh. From 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., I am unavailable Monday through Friday. Outside of that, I can respond. So the intent behind this original staffing deal was purposely Monday through Friday. With recommendations of the chiefs coming back to the fire commission, they have argued that, one, money being on the table, and they would like to be able to utilize it to their best abilities to have more people in the stations Monday through Friday to be able to provide that extra level of protection when it's needed.
Would you say, sir, that most of the fire departments, and I hear exactly what you're saying, but would you think most of them have that same situation, that there are people available, the volunteers are available more readily on Saturdays and Sundays? And I know they have families, and I know they have things they like to do on weekends.
It is my opinion, yes. It may be a couple excerpts with the summertime, springtime, vacationing, different events going on around throughout the county where you have a group that has went out and enjoying themselves, that it does put a strain on responding personnel. But again, to me, it's left up to the fire chiefs to manage their station, their staff, the best in the way they see fit.
Thank you.
And some of the other avenues we were looking at with this is, with the storms coming through, if we had the avenue of them being able to put 3 people on trucks, when the snow came in, that would be 3 trucks available to go out right away, not somebody having to get up, shovel out their car, clean off their car, and try to get to the firehouse. We'd already have trucks en route.
So, go ahead. So right now, each fire department has 2 paid firemen
No, sir.
From Monday to Friday, right?
No, sir. We have 1 slot for a firefighter Monday through Friday, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we have limited to 50 hours. So where that second slot comes in, let's say Tuesday, they couldn't find anybody to work. Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, they can work a second person that day to be able to fill that slot from Tuesday. And that's what that's what y'all voted to allow them to do.
Excuse me, Mr. Colbert, it was my understanding that they were authorized up to 2 a day.
Yes, they are allowed up to 2 per day.
Okay.
But they have to stay within the 50 hours per week, and they have to stay under the 50,400 for the year.
So if you work 2 people all week long, you would exceed the 50 hours.
That is correct.
Okay,
And then they would have to take it out of their own budget to offset the cost of having 2 people in there Monday through Friday. But
And just to answer this question, and we'll help you, and Mr. Colbert, if you could help. The reason for the 50,400 is initially the budget was set for 1 person.
correct.
Because that was the original goal, was to put a body on the truck every day.
Yes.
Okay, and then there was another proposal brought forward that allowed for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was approved.
Yes.
And so that, just so you know, so it went from 1 to 2. The monies didn't change, and I think that's part of the concern.
So you're saying you need to put more people on the at the station, and you already got 2, right?
So if we remove the 50,000, or if we move the 50 hours per week, at any point in that month, let's say vacations, they could only cover 8 shifts in that month. All the rest of those shifts could be used in any of those following months. So if we remove the 50 hours a week, if we figure out how we're going to either implement it from today or implement it from July 1 or however, but if we figure out how we're going to set it up, whatever leftover money is there, they'd be able to use that money to staff the fire department, as many people as they felt needed.
You know, I've listened to your explanation of things, and it makes sense. The problem I have is the way it's written doesn't match your explanation. You know, it's like very vague. You know, you guys explained it well, and I appreciate it. Thank you. But the way it's written, I've got a problem with the way it's written versus the way you guys have laid it out. You've laid it out very precise, very concise. Thank you. Is there any other questions from other board members?
Did they read the whole background information? We went right to the slides. Did you read the whole background initially?
I did not, but I can read it
So,
real quick.
yeah,
if
I
you
think
like
that
me
would help, so people would have a better understanding of what was actually proposed.
So background, it says currently the volunteer fire departments are allowed to reimburse up to 2 firefighters a day, maximum hours of 50 hours a week. The fire department had concerns about the funds that were left in the account and where they were not able to cover those days during the week. The fire department wanted to be able to spend the unused funds that remained in the account. A motion was made by the Fire Commissioner, Chip Fudge, to modify the current reimbursement policy and lift the 50-hour-a-week restriction and to lift any restrictions on the number of firefighters per shift and remain at the funding level currently provided. Motion was seconded by Matt Norwood and passed. So the recommendation was the Fire Commission recommends to modify the current reimbursement policy to lift the 50-hour weekly restriction and to lift any restrictions on the number of firefighters per shift and remain at the funding level currently provided.
So technically, the way this thing's written, you could blow through your year's budget in a month.
Yes, but
Now, I know it's up to them to manage their budget.
Yep.
But there again, it's written, your explanation and the way it's written.
So the
Don't work.
intent on my side, is I'm going to keep a running total of those available hours. So my goal is to be able to say, hey, this is what you used this month. Your total of available hours is this, and they have to manage those hours. But the Fire Commission made it very abundantly clear that the intent is to maintain this throughout the year and be able to cover those shifts as much as possible.
So how would you maintain that throughout the year for $50,400, one? And two is, how does it promote getting more people on the truck per day when we already have 2 allowed per day? That's the central question for me, and it was at the meeting. So that's the key intended purpose is to put someone on a fire truck, hopefully 2 people every day, if possible. We understand they're volunteers. I think everyone do an incredible job, but I think the next question comes back to then how much should be in the budget for part-time work? Because once you open up the cap, then you're immediately going to say, well, how much are we going to provide within the funding formulas for that? Because then you could actually staff it with hypothetically 3 people Monday through Wednesday, but then leave it void Thursday and Friday and quickly expend your money.
Yes.
Understanding that the chiefs manage it.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
And what was the original plan for the funds, should there be any left over? And maybe Commissioner May can answer that. I don't know.
It actually went back into the tax fund.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
It went back into the tax fund.
So originally, the plan was for any funds from this left over went back to the general fund?
Yes. Our general fund, the tax.
Fire tax
I understand,
yes.
I understand, the fire tax fund.
Basically, since we were starting
would
from
still be-
ground zero,
Right.
this is a way to build up a fund balance in the general fund of fire tax.
But, okay, you just brought up a great point. To build up a fund balance, okay? Now, if captains don't have that, there won't be a fund balance to build up as quickly, or chiefs, I'm sorry. Am I correct?
Part of it, yes. What's the other avenues that the money is not being utilized? The one for the first responder program,
Okay.
all departments are not utilizing that. We had recommended, and it was approved to allow each department up to $20,000 to do the first responder program.
5, workman's comp has been paid by the state the last couple of years, so that, all that money is going into the fund also.
For clarity purposes, any unspent money in any portion of the fire tax budget that it remains unspent at the end of the year from any category goes into the fire tax fund's fund balance.
So that's the way it was set up, right?
Yes, and that's sort of the way all of our county accounts work as well.
Okay, so if I can't get nobody to work my fire department not on Tuesday, but I can get on Wednesday, Thursday, and the money what I had left from that week, cost from Tuesday and Friday goes back into the fire general funds, right? And then at the end of the year, if you don't spend all, if you haven't spent all of the cap money, it goes back into the, okay. So what you're asking now for is to uncap it so you can spend it all. If I'm talking about, I'm saying if they need it, you can spend it all.
Theoretically speaking, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think what threw me off in looking at this, the third sentence in the background, and I think the explanation on trying to enhance service probably would have gone over a little better in the wording of it. The way that reads, the fire departments wanted to be able to spend all the unused funds that remain in the account, maybe in order to, as opposed to that, what I think I'm hearing is really to be able to enhance service. They have the funds and they want to have flexibility. And I think that's probably more in line because as county managers say, really, in a department, we wouldn't want any manager to come to us and say that they would find a way to spend all the money in their account. And so I think with the explanation, I think I understand it. But that was the one sentence in that threw me a little bit.
Yeah. And Commissioner Cozart, my heartache here is the way it's written versus the way it's been explained. And if we vote on this as it's written, we're voting for it as written, not as explained. So I feel like we need a little better clarification, in my opinion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
without any further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that we table this to another time and we go through and get some better language to clarify the recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about that? Is it too late for me to ask a question of the chairman?
Go ahead.
We're going to go back and look at, to rewrite this or to come back with a better way that it's proposed. Am I correct?
So I think it would help.
Just so I understand.
Yes, sir. No, I got you, but I want to help with just one thing. Mr. Culberth, if you would, they have a meeting tomorrow night, Fire Commission does, and so it'd be good if the board could provide them some guidance on, as they relook at this, on what you're actually looking for, and you could get that information back to the county manager, and he could be able to share it with the board, so that they can ultimately be able to draft something that meets what the board is attempting to do, which is to spend money to enhance services, to better place personnel on the vehicles on a daily basis. Is that correct, Mr. Culberth?
Yes, sir, that is the intent.
Do you have anything that you can provide to the commissioners that will help them in regards to that as you go back to your meeting tomorrow night?
This is still a new thing for Granville County, for the fire departments, fire chiefs. We are working still through kinks of trying to achieve the best possible service that each department has contracted with the county to provide for the citizens of this county. And again, with 12 departments coming back, giving us direction that they see fit in their respective territories, we're doing the best we can. It is still a fluid situation. We're still just working through trying to do what's best as far as the county and the taxation, but also providing personnel to be able to respond to these incidents. My personal fire department, we had 2 grass fires and a mutual aid to a structure fire earlier today. I haven't seen reports to see how many people were able to respond. So doing things that we were asking for tonight greatly helps every department throughout the whole county. Some people look at it as spending money. Yes, it is. But at the same sense, we're trying to be good stewards of the money and spend it in appropriate ways where we can get people in the right places at the right time to assist emergencies throughout this county.
And if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, and I know it's already been voted on, but it would help for what we are going to try to do tomorrow night. What I'm hearing from the concern is we don't want all the money spent up just by spending it, that there actually a purpose and a means. We understand that testing hose and doing all those, we get that. But as you, and I want to hear the other commissioners got to say about this. So $50,400, let's just say hypothetically that they place 2 people on a truck every day. And I think there's got to be some thought into if that actually can be done, right? If that actually can be done, then how do we go about placing that in the silo called part-time? We have a silo, a funding silo says part-time at $50,400 that was set up on 1 person. So again, the more that we dilute the funding tree, the more you dilute the enhancement funding, which is done by proportionality and list tax value, population, road miles, area, housing units, business, call volume, and rooftops. And so if we could just kind of give them an idea, because there's several things they're thinking about. Am I correct, Mr. Culverton? Could you just kind of give us a little idea? Because we have to start making decisions on the fire commission that we can get resolved.
Yes, we have talked about, again, as far as the silos, grant funding and stuff of that nature. The departments are now coming back to the fire commission, letting us know that for the quantity of money that they are receiving now, it's kicking them out of some grants. So we're trying to look at reallocating some of that stuff as far as equality, not equally. So it's one of those things. We do know that different parts of the county that are growing faster than others, but we are also trying to provide the same amount of coverage and respect to the whole county as a whole. It is a lot of things being brought forth. Again, the first responder program. I think there's one extra department has joined on with that since we offered a $20,000 incentive to be first responders. The enhanced funding that the fire departments has, I was just asking Ken, as far as you speaking about the silos and stuff, as far as based off of 1 person for the $50,400. With enhanced funding, the departments has the opportunity to either pay more per hour or they can pay multiple people if they so choose. They have to put it in their budget to be able to justify that standpoint. It's just what they get reimbursed from the county on the fire tax is still based off of 1 person. So again, this is still a fluid deal of trying to do what's best for the county as well as the departments of trying to look further down the road. I got my own ideas. I'm gonna keep them to myself at this time. I spoke to a few folks, but at the same sense, the county is changing and the fire service is gonna have to change with it.
Anything further?
No, I just welcome the commissioners to come to those meetings. You can hear firsthand from the the board members and the chair as they work through this, and as they're preparing, they've not prepared the budget for this coming year as they work to do that. And these type of decisions will help them do that as the board does that. And one last thing, so that's the kind of thing that they need guidance on. If they were to make a change or bring up a change proposal to this board, I think the question always comes up is, when can it go into effect? And so I think this board could help them tonight if we could just simply state how, if the change were to be made, they're in a budget year. Do we wait till the next budget year to make any changes or adopt any changes in regards to the timelines, or do we allow flexibility that they can change midstream? And those kind of things help them in making their decisions. And that's all.
And I think the board members need to think about this and contact the county manager and tell him your thoughts, and he can convey them back. Thank you. Is there any further on this item? Thank you. We appreciate you coming here tonight. Appreciate your patience, and thank you for the explanation.
Thank y'all very much.
Yeah. All right. With that, we'll move on to our county manager's report.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right. How about our county attorney? Got anything for us, Jim?
Sorry, you've got a couple of orders on special use permits that are in front of you tonight. And I just wanted to, first of all, it takes a while to get the minutes back and then to circulate the orders and get them approved by their other attorneys. Of course, the attorneys for the applicants want these things approved as soon as possible so they can start construction. But I would note that we didn't get them in time to put them in the agenda, so we can either hold them and put them in the agenda next time, or you all can vote on them tonight. But to be able to finalize these, we do need your vote on the special use permit orders. And I'm happy to do it either way.
Okay. Board members, have you had an opportunity to look over these?
Not since we just got them a few minutes ago. No, sir, I have not.
That's true.
So I would submit to you that I'm happy to pass along the message that Rome didn't get built in a day, and we're happy to put these on the next agenda unless somebody else has a problem. What's that?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask that we put this on till the next board meeting, if that's okay with the other.
Perfectly fine with me, that's fine.
All right. Do we need is everybody in agreement, or do we need to make a motion and have a vote?
I'll make the motion to make it official that we table this until the next meeting date.
Okay.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll table this to our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Anything further?
Just one other issue. As the board knows, Mr. Karen accepted a position as part-time town administrator of the town of Stem. Stem is a council mayor form of government. There's no statutory prohibition on a county commissioner serving as town administrator in a council mayor jurisdiction. I've discussed with Mr. Gooch and Mr. Karen that we must be vigilant of conflicts and the appearance of conflicts in matters that come before the board related to the town of Stem. We will work to identify such matters, report them to the board, and Mr. Karen has made clear that he will seek to recuse himself as appropriate. I just wanted to make that statement and make sure that was in the record.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I didn't say this at the beginning of the meeting. I should have. Mr. Karen is not with us tonight because he's in Washington, D.C. I think they're doing some lobbying up there. So that's why he's absent tonight from the board. And with that, we'll.
And I do have one matter for executive session that'll be brief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have one matter for closed session. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Anything else? Is that good? Okay. As I mentioned, Commissioner Karen is not with us tonight due to being in Washington. And Commissioner Jay, do you have some remarks for us, comments?
Only remark I have, that I thoroughly enjoyed the Veterans Program Saturday. even though I rushed back from Virginia, but I did get there in time. You did. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. Commissioner Williford.
The only thing I have is I was volunteered to read for the Read Across America today, my first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. One of our school board members, Miss Baker, was also there. Now, we all had different classrooms, and I got to be honest, I'm thinking I'm going to start doing it once a week. They asked if I would consider doing a reading buddy, is what they call it. But it was just absolutely fulfilling. I would have stayed, another hour. Just a great class. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you to our clerk for contacting me to see if I would be interested in it. Very fulfilling.
Thank you. It sounds like he's encouraging the rest of us to step up.
They corrected me on a couple words I said wrong.
Commissioner Griffin, you got anything? Some statements?
The only thing is, I too went to the Veterans Appreciation at South Granville on Saturday, and I was very happy with the number of turnout of people that came to show support for our veterans that have give so much so that so many of us could live in this country and have the freedoms that we enjoy. Also today, some of us went over to South Granville and looked at a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new concession stand they have down at the girls' softball field. If you get a chance, go by there, look at a ball game. They sell hot dogs and things in there. It's a really nice building. They put a lot of money into it, and it's going to be something that's going to serve our students in our county for many years to come. That's about the only thing I have to say. Thank you.
And it's warm in that building, too.
It is nice and warm in that building, too.
Yes. One of us was late for that. Sorry. Commissioner Cozart.
Just briefly, so happy to see that the Antioch Fire Department is aggressively working on their fundraiser in light of some of this conversation. It's good to see that those kind of things are still going on. And even though I couldn't make it Saturday, I really appreciate our veterans. I appreciate all the work that go into that. I think it's the first one I missed, but really just want to express my gratitude to them and that whole committee, Commissioner May, your liaison, the great work they do every year. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Commissioner Cozart. Commissioner May.
Yes, before I get into my comments, I'd like to make a nomination if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Commissioner Karen, for District 6, would like to nominate and I will be doing so on his behalf, for the hospital board, a Jacob Rogers to the hospital board.
Excuse me. I will second that.
Has he actually resigned from the hospital board? Mr.
Yes,
Karen resigned?
Commissioner Karen did issue a statement to the board members that he is resigning.
As long as the office is vacant.
So let me go back to that. Commissioner Karen has announced that he is resigning from that board, and based upon that, I'm making this recommendation. I think the county chair is aware of the same information I'm aware of.
Okay. Based on the county attorney's advice that the office is vacant, I will second the nomination.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And your other comments?
Sir, thank you, and thank you for that. Yes, thanks for all the commissioners coming to the Veterans event. It is truly incredible with the number of Vietnam veterans we had, and thank you for coming. Again, thank you also for supporting the Veterans Affairs Committee. They do outstanding work for the county. We have over 3,000 veterans in this county, and so your work is and very special people. I'd also like just to talk briefly on a matter that is an issue within our community, is the concern with PFAS in Saguasa. And so I talked to Commissioner Gooch about this, our chair, and I just wanted to make sure that the other commissioners are aware, which I think you are because you've been involved in some of those discussions as well. But for the purposes of letting the public know what the board of our board has been doing is that we actually met with Brad Knott, Congressman Knott's office, and met with him over at a business in Raleigh, and met with him, discussed him the issues. I've met with also his office chief of staff, provided them for additional information as well as to what Saguasa is moving forward with and their concerns. And of course, with all these conversations, it's a caveat with how can you help us and how can you help fund this matter that Saguasa is working on. We've also had discussions, our office, as we did, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago with Senator Budd's office, in which this board met, discussed a number of topics to include Saguasa funding, our concerns about PFAS, uniqueness of Saguasa in our county setting, and in regards to, as you understand, that this board does not provide any, the county does not provide any funding to Saguasa, but we have commissioners sit on that board, and in fact, these residents that on the municipal systems are actually part of our constituents, and so we are working behalf of that. We also, there was also a discussion last week with Senator Tillis's office in which similar information was passed forward to him as well. Again, there was a conversation with DEQ regarding the concerns that we had and what we were doing in regards to trying to get funding and relief, and are we on the right track or not right track per Saguasa. In addition, there were some communications or there was some conversation with surrounding water systems to see what they are doing and what we are doing to determine whether or not our Saguasa is moving in the direction that that we think would be best suited. And again, I'm no expert, but then that was all discussed with Chairman Gooch, who is also the chairman of the Saguasa board. So I think from a perspective of we're listening, we're hearing, we hear the complaining, we hear it, we hear the concerns. They're not being ignored. We also there was a conversation with Representative Khan in regards to funding, and also representatives outside of the county that we're seeking assistance from. So there's robust conversation going on to include a conversation that will occur tomorrow that hopefully we can see if we can continue the progress that we're making with the PFAS situation. Again, it's a fluid issue, an issue that people are concerned about, and an issue that we're concerned about and not ignoring, but we're doing our due diligence to make sure we're aiding and seeking the right funding and matters that we can, the best we can as a county board. That's one last thing, the fire commission. I do encourage you, if you come tomorrow night, it's I think any way we can help and guide them. Your comments back to county manager would be very helpful, so that we can make sure that we have the right funding in the right areas. As the fire commission has to make these decisions and send the recommendations to us. So any guidance you're willing to provide me as well, I'm glad to share with them. So thank you.
Chairman Gooch, before you start your comments, if I can ask a question. When we go back to the nomination that that Commissioner May made and I seconded. Now, that would be non-voting. So we have Commissioner Griffin that is also serving on the hospital board. So how are we going to do how are the voting, non-voting? How would that work?
Yeah, Commissioner Griffin is currently a non-voting member on the board. We would have to appoint Commissioner Griffin to the non-voting slot, and the person we just appointed, we would have to appoint them. We would have to appoint Commissioner Griffin to the voting spot that Tim has, and then we would have to appoint the person that we just nominated to the non-voting position.
So Commissioner Gooch, may I, and with Mr. Wren's guidance, can we make that amendment now after it's been passed?
You won't, it'll be 4, because you're losing a commissioner. By Tim stepping down, he's a commissioner. You're losing him, and you're moving Mark from non-voting to voting. you keep the exact same number of commissioners in voting slots.
So we've got in voting slots, we've got you, Dr. Cozart, Mr. Karen, and who's Mr. J of the four,
That's the four.
and Ms. Karen's leaving.
That will put you at 3. If we put Mr. Griffin in as a voting, that will put us back to 4.
So if you want to rescind your motion.
I'd like to extend my motion. Thank you, County Attorney, for the advice. I'd like to extend my motion, Mr. Chair, if I may at this time, which you're okay. So what I'd like to do is nominate Mr. Rogers as a non-voting member and nominate Mr. Griffin as a voting member who is already serving as an ex officio to the board, which would give us a total of 4 county commissioners as voting members, and Mr. Rogers would then serve as a non-voting member.
The only thing I would ask is if you all just hold this vote long enough to finish whatever else you're going to do. Let me pull up the bylaws and make sure there's a ex officio spot for a non-county commissioner. The bylaws, my recollection is the bylaws specify that ex officio slot is for a county commissioner, but I'll pull it up in 2 minutes and read it to you.
So I'll hold that, and then we can deal with that after the county attorney has a closed session, I think.
Yeah.
You still hadn't made your comments, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah.
I can be
I
quick.
interrupted you.
Yeah, we got off balance here. I attended the veterans ceremony at South Granville Saturday, and it was very, for me, it was emotional. It was very moving because we were honoring the veterans of the Vietnam War. They were the focus of that, and the Vietnam era veterans are aging out. I mean, I missed it by just a few, just a little bit. I'm 70. I turned 18 in September of 1972, and they were winding down the war then, and they eventually eliminated the draft. So I never had to serve, and I never volunteered to serve. So the ones that did, they're several years older than me, and over the years, I've come to know a lot of veterans and a lot of stories they had, not stories, but experiences they had while in Vietnam, and I have the utmost respect for them. And they asked me to make some opening remarks, and I kept it very short because I'm in awe. I wasn't, in my mind, I hadn't earned the right to be there, to speak to them. They were the heroes. They were the ones that paid the price, them and their comrades. And it was a very good ceremony, and I enjoyed it, but I was still a little bit in awe of them because I remember what these guys had to go through. And with that, I'll just keep my remarks short. I'm sure Jim's still working here.
I think I've got an answer, but I'm still counting up. It says here that in addition to Granville Health, pursuant to the resolution, there should be 9 voting members of the Board of Trustees, all of whom shall be appointed by the Granville County Board of Commissioners. In addition, the Granville Health System CEO, medical chief of staff, and 1 county commissioner appointed by the Granville County Board of Commissioners shall serve in an ex officio capacity without voting rights. Of the 9 members selected by the Granville County Board of Commissioners, it is recommended that one member of the active medical staff shall be chosen, that 1 member shall be chosen from the active medical staff. So currently, I've got Mr. J, Mr. Gooch, Mr. Cozart, Mr. Karen, Mr. Smith, Mr. Lumpkins, and then we've got, help me out on the, we've got Dr. Kumar, I believe. Or Dr. Not, no, she's not a. Dawn Marie. And who's the ninth one? Maybe Dr. Hodge, I'm not.
Is that Lee Hodge? Shane Hodge.
So that you've got that in front of you? Can you just confirm that for me, please?
For the non-voting,
No, for the 9 voting members.
okay, District One, Zotis J. Do you have James Lumpkins?
I do.
David Smith,
I do.
James Cyril Blaine?
He's no longer on
Oh,
there.
that was, we,
So Mr. Gooch replaced Mr. Blaine.
and then Don Omakunde, Dr. Cozart, Bobby Wheeler, and,
Oh, Bobby Wheeler, okay.
Bobby Wheeler. And then Tim Karen.
And who was the doctor on there?
No, I just said Dr. Alvin Abraham.
Abraham, that's right. Okay.
Ex officio,
I'm sorry, no,
and the hospital staff representative is Dr. Hodge.
okay. So Hodge is on there. So right now, we don't have the way I understand that, the county commissioner seat that is being filled as ex officio has to be a county commissioner seat. It's not there's not an opening. So, I think you've got a couple of options. One, you could appoint a county commissioner to fill that seat and then appoint another county commissioner to serve ex officio. Since that's in a non-voting role, I don't think that would be a problem as far as the tax status issues that we're concerned about. So I believe you could appoint Mr. Griffin to serve as a voting member and then appoint another commissioner to serve ex officio.
But then we couldn't appoint the one that Tim recommended.
That's correct.
You could or could not,
Could not.
at all, for any type. Voting.
Not right now because there's not an opening. If you went that route, if
The only choices would be Commissioner May, Commissioner Wilson.
What about me?
to serve an ex officio.
We have some that are coming up this year for reappointment, is that correct?
I'm not aware of who's coming up this year.
So we don't have any coming up this year.
I think, Mr. Gooch, Mr. Wren, I'm just gonna withdraw what I was just getting ready to state. And Mr. Karen, that's his nomination and the board has made that determination. And unless there's any other way to do this, I don't want to, that was Commissioner Karen's not here tonight, but that was his request.
Okay, based on the attorney's recommendation, well, the attorney's interpretation of the bylaws, we can't offer that amendment.
That's one of us volunteers to serve as ex officio.
Well, I think, well, one of you could volunteer to serve as ex officio, but the issue is, if you want Mr. Karen's nominee or person he asked somebody here to nominate since he's not here, to serve, then I can't make another slot for a voting county commissioner here because,
Okay,
I mean, I think you've got two options. One is to allow the motion to stand, the other one would be to rescind the motion and consider it after everybody's had a chance to talk about it, but that's entirely up to the board. And again, I don't think this is my interpretation. I just want to read you the language again. It says, in addition to the Granville Health System CEO, medical chief of staff, and one county commissioner appointed by the Granville County Board of Commissioners shall serve in an ex officio capacity without voting rights. Of the 9 members selected by the Granville County Board of Commissioners, it is recommended that 1 member shall be chosen from the active medical staff. So you've got 9 voting positions, and that other county commissioner position is a non-voting position.
Okay. Could we appoint a commissioner as an ex officio above and beyond what we already have?
I don't think that's in the bylaws. I think a commissioner could come to all the meetings and sit in on them at all times, but I don't see that. We could probably go back and adopt something different at a later date. But I think the question is, can you appoint somebody else as a voting member? And I think there are probably simpler ways to solve this that we don't, and not try to rush it tonight. Yeah.
I'd like to just offer a suggestion that we wait for Commissioner Karen to come back. I'm going to make a motion that I ask Commissioner May to rescind his motion, and we table it until we've had a chance to talk about it, and let our county attorney look into it further, and Commissioner Karen be involved in the conversation.
I agree, and I accept that if there's a second.
Second.
So we have a motion, a second, to rescind the nomination. Is there any discussion on this?
I just want to make it clear, though, to this citizen that has been nominated,
Yes.
that to make sure there's ample communication regarding that, and that this is not a matter of rejection, but more of the board doing additional due diligence.
Yes. Yes, this is by no means does this, as far as I'm concerned, reflect on the person nominated. I think it was a great choice, but it just kind of threw us into a situation where we're going to have one less commissioner on that board that can vote. And based on the Bible laws, it's kind of got us, it's got us in a bit of a corner here, so.
And that's also the resolution creating the Board of Trustees, I believe, also has similar language, just to be clear.
Okay. Yeah. All right, we have a motion to rescind, and we have a second. Is there any question on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor of rescinding the nomination, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Ayes have it. Nomination is rescinded. We will resubmit. We will talk with Commissioner Karen, and we will revisit this matter at our next meeting. Thank you. All right. Is there any other matters to come before us tonight?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it, in my report. I met with, Christy Simmons from, Congressman Knott's office, last week, on railroad. And she was talking about railroads, coming into Oxford and everything, but I told him I didn't know only the railroad I had that I knew anything about to come in. I think train come into Certainty. And I think she had talked with the mayor about that one. And I told her about Butner. I knew the one that comes right there from the ABC store. I know the track. I know the railroad train track go through it now. And I mentioned your name, Mr. Chairman, and the mayor, for her to get in touch with you, Mayor. She says a lot of grants out there for help with railroad tracks and everything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And one other matter I'd like to revisit before we go into closed session. I know Commissioner May, you've been doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of people about the PFAS issue. And I believe you had conversation with Section Head Chief at DWQ. Would you like to elaborate on that? I'm sorry.
Yes, I spoke with, I think his name is Eric Hudson. We discussed my knowledge, which I made it clear to him that I was no expert, I'm not a member of the SQUASA board, but he made it very clear to me that they have had done some testing in the Creedmoor area based on customers not having concerns regarding their water, and it was within limits, and it was the testing they did, it was clear and odorless, and that's what he said. Okay, and so he also made the comment that I told him about the progress that was being made by SQUASA and the timeline that SQUASA had, and his comments to me were pretty much that many places are doing piloting programs on how to rid the system, using different ways of ridding the system of PFAS. And so he was somewhat understood what we were doing, and pretty much did not provide any negative feedback in regards to how SQUASA was going about this, and nor that would provide any further guidance other than what he knows about what they're doing. So he understood why SQUASA was doing what they did, and he also stated the value of having piloting programs on how to deal with PFAS so that the right decisions would be made in regards to how to best rid the system of PFAS.
Thank you. Is there any further business come for us tonight? If not, we're entertaining a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. We will go into closed session, and when we come back, we'll adjourn.